Right, we are calling this meeting to order. Jodine, can you take attendance?
I am.
Thank you. Now I suggest that the board meets in closed session under Section 8, 1D of the Open Meetings Act for the discussion of real estate. Do I have a motion to move into closed session?
So moved. Second.
Jodine, roll call vote.
All right, Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Hadley?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes.
Now we will recess to closed session and we will reconvene at 7 p.m. Going to reconvene to our regular meeting now that it is 7 p.m. Jodine, has attendance been taken?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve for the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? Seeing none, moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? Incredible. Now we are going to move on to public comments. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to speak before the board. Topics must be related to Ann Arbor District Library Board of Trustees or matters within their authority. To speak during the allotted time of the agenda for public comment, please fill out a public comment form with the executive assistant before the allotted time. Participants may only speak once per meeting, and each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. You can also reach the board by emailing boardcomments@aadl.org. The public comment policy can be found at aadl.org/public comment. Jodine, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Thank you. Now moving on to communications from trustees. All trustees will have the opportunity to speak to the public. Are there any comments from trustees?
I'd just like to welcome Cassie to her first board meeting. We're so happy that you're here.
Thank you.
I will add a comment to say that already Cassie has been such a delight to have on the board and is already offering a number of contributions even in our closed session, which takes a lot for a first board meeting.
Thank you.
Seeing no other comments from trustees, we are going to move on to the financial reports with Eli.
Okay, your financial reports begin on the page marked 24 in your packet. So our general fund cash balance as of January 31st is $11.2 million. That funds approximately 6.5 months of expenses. We're at a very normal point of the year as far as how much the cash balance is, very in line with where we normally are at the end of January. For our tax receipts, so far we've received $22.5 million. That is 100.13% of our budget. It's about what we expect at this point, always a little bit more than we expect. So it will continue to tick up over the course of the year. So your unassigned fund balance that is undesignated is $7 million as of January 31st. That's just as a reminder, in November, the board approved a transfer of $2.8 million to Capital Projects Fund, which was last year's operating surplus. And the current fund balance would fund approximately 4 months of operations. So that's a good place to be. All right, and then on page 25, our total revenues at this point are $13.7 million. Those are the accrued revenues. It's about 60% of budget after 58.3% of the fiscal year. So running a little bit ahead, which is what you like to see on revenues. Our year-to-date expenditures are $11.8 million. That's 51.5% of budget after 58.3% of the fiscal year, running a little under. And our cash out paid so far is actually $12.4 million. So that puts us at, as of this moment, a operating surplus of $1.9 million for the fiscal year. I do anticipate we'll finish probably somewhere around there. While we have a large amount of capital outlays we haven't spent much on, we are slowing down capital outlays projects overall, and then likely the projects we're talking about out at the ALF, or the Plaza as we used to call it, are likely to be covered out of the Capital Projects Fund. So as the year progresses, we will decide what to do with the rest of that. I just wanted to touch on page 27, the lines that are either above 58.3% when it comes to revenues or below, or above when it comes to expenditures. So we're doing well on all of our revenue lines. A couple of the small ones are significantly over in a good way. We budget for example, a local community stabilization fund. You can't predict really what's going to come in, so that's already at 205% of budget. We've received more than twice what we expected, which is a nice position to be in. Investment gains have done much better. We again budgeted very conservatively, budgeted only for $100,000 over the course of the whole year. We're already at $235,000. And library fines, fees, and others are very hard to predict. We only budgeted for $50,000. We've received 83 so far. So altogether, at 58.3% of the fiscal year, again, we're at almost 60% of the budgeted revenue. On the expense side, we're at 56.2% on salaries, wages, and benefits. It's a good place to be at this time of year. Accounting audit is at 93%, but those expenditures are done for the year, so we'll just continue ticking back in and should finish up right where it is. Communications running a little bit over. We'll take a look at that as we get closer. Copier expense is running over, but again, it's a very small line item. And the copier revenue is running over as well, but we budgeted to receive almost no revenue. Legal expense is running a little bit over. We will see where that winds up when we get to the end of the year. Operating supplies, we've been talking about that as well. We're at 66.4%. And that is something where we are transitioning things from being capitalized into the operating supplies line. So that will need an adjustment at the end of the year from the capitalized capital outlays line into the operating supplies. So that will be coming when we get to the end of the fiscal year. And overall, that puts us at our expenditures 51.5%. At 58% of the way through the fiscal year, and that's where you get our operating surplus as of this moment, $1.9 million for the fiscal year. That's the financial report. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Seeing none, thank you, Eli. We'll move on to committee reports, starting with the Executive Committee. On the Executive Committee, on our end, I can speak that we discussed, firstly, a lot of what you're going to see tonight as it considers the update on the redevelopment of the downtown library, as well as the prospective acquisition of the Ann Arbor Observer, and also the resolution to exempt all property taxes from future capture from the DDA, of which you're going to hear later in this meeting. Moving on to Budget and Finance.
The committee did not meet.
Thank you, Lisa. Moving on to Facilities with Scott.
Yep, we met twice at the beginning of the month, and we first met with HBM to review the program that we're about to review tonight as well, and then we had a second short meeting to kind of go over it as a committee and take a final pass at it before it came to the board to kind of figure out how we expected the presentation to go. So we're looking forward to seeing that tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you, Scott. Now, moving on, we will discuss the library report with Eli.
Okay, if you guys can bring up my slides here. Here's our monthly report for February of 2026. Let's start off with our stat of the month. So here you've got a chart that goes back to January of 2022 and ends in January of 2026, showing our inbound messaging volume. The blue line is SMS, and the green line is phone calls. And you can see when summer game happens if you look at this chart, because that's when our SMS volume just explodes. And you can also see that summer of 2025 just about doubled the SMS volume from summer of 2024. At our peak, we were at just over 300,000 inbound SMS messages in the month of July. So that is terrific to see that type of growth, to see that all happening. Now, I wanted to zoom in on the very low end of the chart here. So this is zooming in to see that call volume, the phone call volume. Now, this is just phone calls into our managed call center. So this is not like when someone calls someone's office directly. This is just like our public numbers, and those are being routed to staff to answer. So every one of those calls was answered by a human. We don't have a phone tree. You call the library during open hours, and a human answers in almost all situations, unless all the humans are busy, in which case you get a message. But what you can see here is that the phone volume is very steady, but also we answer basically between 3,000 and 4,000 phone calls a month. And it remains a very high volume way of using the library, even though it doesn't compare to text messaging during summer game. You can see it is much higher volume than text messaging outside of summer game. Right? So it's good to see that there's still a lot of demand for the phone. We will continue to be the ones who answer the phone in this town, and that is a good thing for our patrons, and we hear a lot of praise about that, and I know our staff does an excellent job answering those calls through call center. So that's the stat of the month. Any questions about that before moving on? All right, so here's some upcoming events. Coming up on March 8th is Mario Party Observed on Mario Day. It's difficult when March 10th falls on a different day of the week other than a weekend, so we observe Mario Day on March 8th. That'll be from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Downtown Library. It'll include Mario Kart, bingo, crafts, and more. March 29th is Dino Day from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. If there are dino-obsessed people in your life of any age, please bring them. We'll have Dig, an interactive performance, dino dig sites, crafts, and more. So that's coming up on March 29th at the Downtown Library. Here's a quick event recap for you of AA Facts, the Ann Arbor Fiber Arts Expo. 2026 was a huge success. We had more than 4,000 people through the door that day on February 8th. AA Facts featured a number of talks from fiber arts enthusiasts and historians, hands-on demos, drop-in crafts, and dozens of vendors selling handmade goods. So thanks to the team that put on AA Facts, there's a big success. Everybody had a great day at the library. Here's a nice update from AADL in the community. The film Resilience Revealed, Ann Arbor's Disability Legacy, has been selected to exhibit at the Lake Michigan Film Festival in East Lansing this weekend. This documentary was produced by AADL's archives along with filmmaker Zach Damon, who many of you may know. It's about the role that Ann Arbor has played in the world of accessibility and disability activism. It's a great film. You can watch it online whenever you'd like, aadl.org/resilience revealed. And congratulations to Zach for being the selected film to be in the Lake Michigan Film Festival. Here's our staff spotlight for this month. This is Joe Kennedy. He's a part-time book processor, 2 years at AADL, and he says, I'm an avid birder, and I have seen a total of 1,068 different bird species all across the world. Joe is pictured here at Burungui Rock, Kakadu National Park in the Northern Territory of Australia.
Wow.
All right, here's our mention of the month from Instagram. Loves the socks. Oh, I'm sorry, this is on Blue Sky. Loves the socks.bluesky.social. Sarah B. My 9-year-old. Mom, you know where we should celebrate your birthday? Me, where? 9-year-old. AADL.org Westgate because you love libraries. And me, you know, that's not a bad idea. Confetti emoji, celebrating emoji, birthday cake emoji. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. We're delighted that you want to celebrate your birthday at the library. We're actually seeing quite an uptick in people booking our program rooms for birthday parties. So that's happening more. We've also had a number of memorials over the past couple weeks where people are booking those rooms. So it's always great to see that. All right, so here's our complaint of the month. I was using a computer at the Westgate Library a while ago, and 2 people had brought in greasy and smelly food and ate it at their library computers. I asked the librarian this, and he said it was permissible to eat at the computers. I asked my relative, who's an MD, and she said this spreads germs and is very unsanitary. As you know, this is a bad flu season, and we still have COVID. If the library permits food, why aren't Lysol wipes available to patrons? I think it is very disgusting, and I really hope that the library stops us eating as soon as possible. So we do have Clorox wipes available at the desk. I corresponded with this patron and said, please just ask for a wipe if you'd like to have one. If you encounter any dirty spots in the library, please let us know and we'll clean it. I also mentioned that flu and COVID are spread respiratory and not generally through foodborne. However, it is something that we are, while we're focused on, we also want the library to be a comfortable place for everyone, and eating is a part of that. And while we generally don't get involved unless someone's making a huge mess, and staff verify that in this case a huge mess was not being made. So just to let you know, food is allowed. Food is at the computers. The keyboards are some of the least expensive piece of equipment that we have in the building. So it is no concerns when those get a little dirty, and we are always happy to clean them as needed and have our cleaning staff work with those as well. So any questions about the complaint of the month? All right. I got a compliment of the month that is a doozy here for us. I came to stay with my daughter last October to help take care of her firstborn baby. I am from California, but spend most time nowadays in New Haven with my daughter's family, enjoying babysitting my grandson. It's my first time visiting Ann Arbor, where I'm impressed by the 7-day opening of the libraries in town. I am a library lover, but what I've encountered here makes me feel that Ann Arbor is leading other library systems, LA and New Haven, with the best services. I've attended many workshops at the downtown library, papercraft, letterprint, etc., and the most important one was a writers' meetup workshop where I met 3 poets and we formed a poetry writing group, which we meet regularly to read each other's work. Because of this poetry group, I wrote a poem dedicated to the library. I live close to Malice Creek and go there often, so I make it the subject of the poem, but this poem can apply to any other libraries in Ann Arbor. Here's my dedication to the Ann Arbor Public Libraries, and I would like to read this poem to you all. The Library. Stone walls, circular or straight shapes, stand tall and prominent. Wooden frames support the high ceiling. From the skylight windows, sun rays pour in. Strong and solid, it's a fortress. A fortress has no enemies. A fortress creates no weapons, no defense or offense to make. Shelves are full of books, toys scatter at the children's place. Computers sit on rows of tables, soft sofas surround a fireplace. Two teenagers are chatting softly. A young tutor is explaining algebra. An older woman is guiding people learning English. A man is on his computer searching, maybe a tale from his childhood or secrets of trading stocks. He looks sincere, even tense. Some are reading books, others are typing on their laptops, some are whispering on their phones, others are meeting in the private room. The librarians staring at their computers or sorting, shelving books. He is helping people, she is on the phone. This is a place giving knowledge, passing information, connecting people, offering skill training and opportunities, a safe place motivating hope. I look afar, enclosing invisible elements, all floating in the air, atoms of lives. I heard singing and praying without sounds. Tears spring out of my eyes. Don't know what heaven is, it must be a place such as this. Could the world out of the windows be like this peaceful miniature one? Su Ling Chen. So thank you to Su Ling for sharing your poem with us. I shared that with the staff in my Friday update last week, and I'm glad to have shared it with you all tonight.
Wow.
And that's my report.
Thank you, Eli. What a compliment.
More like
That's incredible. We move on to old business, and we're going to stay with Eli on an update of the redevelopment of the downtown library.
Okay, so we have a big step for you tonight. We'll talk about in just a minute. I'll set up the program when we get to that point in the agenda. But we have some movement forward with negotiating a transfer agreement with the city of Ann Arbor, and we hope to be seeing that come before city council this spring. And once city council has approved it, we'll come before this board, so both boards will approve it. And that is in motion. And then once that is done, we will be moving forward on to next steps. So it's very exciting to be reaching these steps and looking forward to continued development and excitement.
Very exciting. We're going to stay with you, and we're going to discuss the acquisition of the Ann Arbor Observer.
Yes. So I had a phone call with the owners last week just to check in. We have received a offer to participate in the Lenfest Institute's Expert Network, which is, the Lenfest Institute is a nonprofit news organization, operates out of Philadelphia. They are the owners of the Philadelphia Inquirer, and they have a lot of experience in the sorts of model that we are proposing for the Ann Arbor Observer. So we've been assigned a consultant who will help answer some of their questions and help them figure out how their business might adjust to being a supporting nonprofit of the library. And that has just started this week. So hopefully the consultant's going to have some questions and conversations with the ownership and staff of the Observer. And we'll see what happens next. So that's the update there. Any questions about that? Okay. I will mention, the Observer asked us at the beginning of the month if we could start offering copies of the Observer for distribution. And they had a little bit of a challenge with mail delivery. And we said, well, absolutely. And so they brought us 100 copies for each location. We put those out, and patrons were very happy to see those. We're likely to continue doing that for the foreseeable future. So if you ever are missing your copy of the Observer or want to have a look at it, please come to the library. We've got copies for you.
Amazing. Seeing no further discussion, we're going to move on to new business, which will include a presentation of the revised downtown library building program with HBM Architects.
All right, before I introduce our guests here, let me just set this up a little bit, which is to say that the draft of the program that you see tonight, I think this puts us at 0.75% completion of the design process, right? Let alone the entire project overall. The program is like, seriously, when completed, about 1% of the design work. What the purpose is of an architectural program, and Peter will talk more about this in a minute, is it's really a list of requirements of what you want to have in the library. So what we've done is gone through all the departments, had feedback from all the different department managers, shared a draft with the entire staff, collected all the feedback from the entire staff, made changes to the document, and what we have here is a list of what we'd like to see in a new library. Kind of in the abstract. This is mostly untouched by any financial constraints for the most part, but trying to get in there everything we'd like to see and everything we'd like to have happen, kind of a wish list for the library before we start moving on to the next phases of the project. So with that, I'd like to introduce Peter Bolick and Renee Downing from HBM Architects. Peter's going to go first. And they developed the architectural program that we had back in 2018, and we asked them to revise that document for 2026. And I'll let Peter take it away.
Thank you, Eli. Good evening, and
Good evening.
I'd like to thank the trustee members and the director for inviting us this evening to talk to you about this plan and this report. I'm Peter Bolick, president of HBM Architects, and with me is Renee Downing, an associate with the firm and library planner. The booklet you had received a few weeks back is in draft form and is pretty lengthy piece of material that I thought we would give you the kind of high-level overview and objectives of that type of report so that it can be best used moving forward. Walking you through that building program, but more importantly, what it really does tell us and you what is important in things you do, how you do them, and how the community receives those and the community's needs for where you are now and into the future. So as Eli mentioned, this is not a design document. It's far from that. It's really a roadmap. It defines the needs, the priorities, the opportunities that should guide any future discussion and decisions about the downtown library's future. The document is arranged in 4 simple parts, really, and the first being an introduction, much like I'm giving this evening, kind of overview, high level. The second part is a summary of 2 really important things, initial and long-term space needs. And that's the main objective of the document. From there, the building program evolves from the initial space needs into a little bit more refined and defined recommendations of those space needs. And then the last part of it, which you may say is the most important part, is the informed piece that got us to those recommendations, and that's the stakeholder, manager, and staff input that we conducted with the library and community. Why does this matter now? The downtown library plays a unique role in Ann Arbor. It is your most visible location, your administrative headquarters, your primary platform for innovation, partnership, and large-scale planning and programming. The use of the downtown library is growing steadily, and visits, events, and program attendance have all increased significantly over the last few years. At the same time, demand for flexible space, meeting space, creative production, and community gathering continues to outpace what the current building can comfortably support. Simply put, the library is doing more than ever, but the building is increasingly working against you rather than with you. So the core challenge of this phase is to put forth the role and the things that need to change and to be considered as the building no longer fits the current role. So the current downtown library was built and expanded in a different area where downtown Ann Arbor was more residential and library services were more static. Large public events were not a primary function. Today, the building has the following fundamental limitations. It's not visually recognized as a library or a hub of activity from the street. It lacks purpose-built space for the scale and variety of programs now taking place. It offers limited flexibility to adapt services, technology, and community expectations continuing to change, and it presents numerous accessibility challenges. And as a result, spaces like the lobby are being pressed into service as informal event venues, and staff and collections are currently reconfigured to accommodate these changes in use. What the building program document does is respond to these challenges by clearly defining the types of spaces the downtown library needs, how those spaces should relate to one another, and how the building can support both current demand and long-term change. It was informed by first starting with the administration and discussions, moving to department manager discussions, then moving to the library board facilities committee, and then further building usage data and direct observation by our office, as well as insights from the work we completed with you all back in 2018 to capture how quickly needs are evolving. The key program priorities are broken down in a number of categories. First, visibility and civic presence. The downtown library should function as Ann Arbor's front porch, a building that visibly communicates energy, creativity, and openness. Transparency and strong wayfinding and outdoor public spaces are central to that goal. Second, the purpose-built gathering spaces and event spaces. The program identifies the need for a large auditorium of 400-plus attendees, a flexible performance and expo space, multiple meeting rooms of various sizes. These spaces allow the library to host events without displacing everyday library use, which we all know is never going away. Books and material and access to information is very important. With all of the other attributes being placed on libraries, these spaces are very much needed. And to support the partnerships that are currently have few alternative downtown venues. The third, spaces for all ages and abilities. The kids area, teen spaces, the adult reading and study areas are envisioned as distinct but connected environments, each designed for safety, comfort, and belonging. Universal accessibility is emphasized throughout, exceeding minimum ADA standards. The fourth component, creative and production, from the secret lab to recording studios and equipment-ready rooms. The program acknowledges that creation, not just consumption, is now a core library service. These spaces require infrastructure, visibility, and flexibility to thrive. Fifth, staff efficiency and sustainability. Reorganized staff work areas, improved vertical circulation, and access to natural light are critical to operational efficiency. Sustainability is addressed not as an add-on, but as a long-term operational responsibility. So designing for change, not certainty, as key theme of this program is adaptability. No one can predict what library services will look like 20, 40, or 80 years from now. The program therefore prioritizes flexible infrastructure, reconfigurable spaces, and clear separation between permanent systems and changeable elements. The goal is a building that can evolve continuously without requiring disruptive or costly renovations. What this means for the board: this building program gives the board a clear framework for evolving and evaluating future options for the new facility. It ensures that future conversations are grounded in community needs, operational efficiencies, long-term stewardship of public resources. And in closing, in this quick 30,000 square height overview, at its best, the downtown library is where Ann Arbor comes together to learn, create, and connect. This building program is about making sure the building itself fully supports that mission today and for generations to come. And with that, turn it back over to Eli if there's questions, and we can be
Sure.
available.
So the document has been posted to the board reports page. So you go to About Us Board and you click on the board reports section and you can see the draft that is for consideration today. Does any trustees have any feedback or questions about this step of the process?
First, I'll just say thank you, Peter and Renee, for all your work on this. Like, it's clearly, you spent a lot of time really reflecting on the feedback. We saw the changes come in with the iterations and saw that feedback processed. One thing I noticed this morning when I was reading through the latest draft was the moving accessibility up front, and like it was already through a thread all the way through, but it's very clearly in there. And I think that is a big goal of the board, is to also make sure the whole building is accessible to everybody, and that is above and beyond what the legal requirements are. And I've had so many opportunities to get feedback. I don't have much else to say, but I do encourage library fans, if you want to get excited about the potential for the new library, go to the website and take a look at this program and start to read about the things we're planning for. So thanks for coming tonight.
The one thing I'll underscore as a point of encouragement as well is that you emphasized adaptability in this new space, which is important because I think foundationally when we think of this space, we have 3 separate buildings that have been sewn together to service these needs, and we're seeing that it's not actually working at this point in time. We have sewage issues, we need a new roof, all of these different types of issues. Fundamentally, regardless of what the Ann Arbor of tomorrow looks like, this needs to be a helpful, adaptable, secure space. So I really appreciated that call out. Any other items of discussion?
Thank you so much for making the trip up here and for all of the work you've done on this. I reading that report and seeing all the pieces, we've been working very hard towards the vision of a new library for a long time, but reading this report was the first time I felt it, that we're going to get a new library, and it's going to be so great. So thank you for that work, and also, again, just to follow on with Scott, like, strong recommend for the folks who have been following along and are really excited to pick it up and read it.
Yeah, like Scott, I think all of my feedback about the document is reflected in the contents. I will say that, I'm so grateful to HBM to have partnered with us on this to try to advance the pieces of this effort that we can at this moment in time. So I think, as we heard earlier, this is like 1% of the process, right? And I haven't, my position on the board is I haven't felt comfortable moving into conversations about design because we still haven't finalized, the site that we're working with, which is contingent sort of on completing some transacting with the city. So really glad to hear tonight that that's moving forward, but really grateful to HBM for helping us to keep things moving in the meantime.
Any other comments from the board? We welcome any public comments on this. I will say that the program is not typically a place that there's a lot of public feedback because it is a very dry list of spaces, and that there will be lots of public engagement as the design starts to progress over the coming years and as we have things for people to look at, because this is upstream of all of that. So it is great to have a starting. It's really, for anyone who works in software, it's very equivalent to a software requirements document. This is what it needs to be able to do. This is what it needs to be able to take in. This is what it needs to be able to put out. And it's great to have all that enumerated and gives us a very solid foundation moving forward. And also, as we said, the distinction between the initial needs and the long-term needs, right? Initial is like, what's it need to have on opening day, right? But then what about the rest of its 99 hopeful year life, right? What else are we able to need and change? We've done a lot with this building over its 70 plus years and made lots of adjustments to it. And this is taking from those lessons where you will be able to change things easily without major additions and make spaces that can adapt to things that, patrons who haven't been born yet, technologies that haven't been developed yet, the societal issues that have not yet surfaced. Many of those things are yet to come. And I'm glad to see a document that gives us a very solid foundation upon which to move, no pun intended. So any other last questions or comments on this? All right, so the draft is posted, and we will move forward from there and onward to the next step. Peter and Renee, thank you very much for making the trip. Safe travels.
Thank you so much.
And we appreciate all your work on the
course.
project.
Moving on in our new business, we will now discuss a resolution of thanks to Elaine Arquette upon her retirement. The board resolves as follows: that it would like to officially thank Elaine Arquette upon her retirement for her dedicated service as an employee of the Ann Arbor District Library from September 3rd, 1992 to February 20th, 2026. 2, that all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Oh, actually, we will now have discussion.
I just want to thank Elaine for all of her years of dedicated service. She is a joy to everyone who interacts with her. She's done all kinds of things here at the library over the years, and we are so delighted to congratulate her on her retirement and wish her the very best as she moves into the next chapter of her life. So thank you, Elaine, and thank you for all the work you've done for our patrons.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved. Didn't we already move?
Oh,
We did
yes.
that. Now we
Yeah.
vote.
Ready to vote.
Apologize, yes.
No.
Now we vote. All those in
Canceled.
favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? Moving on, that passes. Now we have a resolution to exempt all library taxes from future capture by Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority. Now I will read the resolution. This is a doozy, everyone, so be prepared.
Do a round.
Do you want to pass out? We can go around.
Yeah, let's do it paragraph by paragraph. Thank you. Whereas in 1996, the Ann Arbor voters approved a perpetual operating millage for the Ann Arbor District Library of up to 2 mills to fund the operation and maintenance of the library, and
Whereas currently, the taxes from the 1996 operating millage are subject to capture by the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority, DDA, pursuant of the Recodified Tax Increment Financing Act. I don't have to read all that, do I?
Please do. Yeah, just-
Okay, Act MCL 125.4101, RTIFA, and
Whereas on December 15th, 2025, the City of Ann Arbor, or city, passed a resolution of intent to alter or amend the boundaries of the established City of Ann Arbor Downtown District to adopt the Ann Arbor DDA Amended Development and TIF Plan 2026 through 2055, presented by the City of Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority, and set a public hearing. And
Whereas on February 2nd, 2026, the city held a public hearing on the proposed amendment to the boundaries of the Ann Arbor Downtown District and to the development plan and tax increment financing plan. And
Whereas RTIFA states that when a downtown development authority alters or amends boundaries of a downtown district or extends the duration of the existing finance plan, a library may exempt all or a portion of its taxes from capture by adopting a resolution to that effect and filing a copy with the city clerk within 60 days after the public hearing, MCL 125.4203, parentheses 3, and
Whereas the library desires to exempt all of its taxes from future capture by the Ann Arbor DDA as provided by RTIFA.
Now, therefore, the board resolves, 1, in accordance with the applicable provisions of RTIFA, the library hereby exempts all of its taxes from future capture by the Ann Arbor DDA. 2, to authorize the director to take all appropriate actions to implement this resolution, including the filing of this resolution with the Ann Arbor City Clerk within 60 days after the public hearing held on February 2nd, 2026. And 3, that all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded.
Thank you, everyone. Now, can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
so moved.
second.
All those, now discussion.
So let me just explain a little bit about how we got to this point. So DDA TIF capture in Michigan is opt-in for public libraries, in that it is something where when the TIF is first established, when the DDA is first established, the library can decide. Then, if the boundaries change, there's a special ability just for libraries to be able to opt out of all of the TIF capture or a portion of the TIF capture if they would like to. I think it's safe to say we would not be considering opting out of the DDA at all if it wasn't for our upcoming major capital need, and that being a completely unique situation for us as an organization. All of our other facilities were built out of our existing cash flow. We have never had debt as an Ann Arbor District Library, but we will to build this building, to build the new downtown library. And the more revenue that we have, the better position we're in to be able to make that building be amazing. So the DDA has been a wonderful partner for us over the years. With many ways, the money that they have captured has come back to the library through partnerships and through projects. For example, when we redid the front entrance back in 2016, the DDA paid for hundreds of thousands of dollars of sidewalk work that otherwise would have been part of the library to pay for. But in this case, it is just we need all the revenue we can get heading into this project. And this doesn't really mean that we are no longer a partner with the DDA. It means that they are no longer capturing any of our revenue. And just currently, that's approximately $560,000 a year. That's what that is, approximately. So that is something that then will come back into the library's budget going forward, starting with the next fiscal year. And we will be adding that to the capital fund and being ready to apply to it to our new project as it moves forward. So we are excited to see the growth of the DDA and the movement forward. But when there's an opportunity like this, when we have a capital need like this, there's really a very straightforward solution for us. So it's a good opportunity for us to reclaim that revenue and move forward.
I want to underscore as well that the DDA continues to be a very important partner to us, and that this decision is really anchored in the enormous responsibility that we have to be good stewards of public dollars in the building of this new library, and that this partnership, again, will continue, but we want to be efficient with every dollar that we receive.
I have a question. So this only goes into effect if the boundary change happens, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
So if for some reason that doesn't happen, then this would be moot.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll just echo, yeah, the DDA has clearly been a great partner. They've done a lot of great things for downtown. And this doesn't happen often. This is the first time the Ann Arbor's DDA has attempted to amend its boundary in its existence. So it's also, this is a rare opportunity for us to think about this and really decide whether or not we need to do it. And I agree that with Eli, that we would not be eager to do this if we didn't have this unique situation of being ready to replace this building and needing every dollar we can get to make that a reality.
Yes.
And I think it's worth reminding that this change has no impact on homeowners' tax bills. The money that the DDA captures comes from the library millage. First, the Headley Amendment decreases our maximum amount. That brings in a certain amount of money, and then the DDA captures basically the portion of that that generates from inside their district. So this is not a change to anyone's tax bill. It doesn't change anything like that at all. It just means that the money that previously would have been captured by the DDA from the library's revenue will be staying with the library instead.
Maybe to follow that, a clarifying question of if the library and board still want to support the DDA in some way, we could choose to do that in another form, even if we make this decision, correct?
That's correct, yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Great. So I think the comments that have been made are really reflective of my feelings on this matter as well. I think we're at a really unique moment in time where we're going to be facing or advancing a capital project to deliver on this board's foremost priority, which is to deliver a new downtown library to the community. So I agree, these are unique times. We really need to be flexible when it comes to the capital we have to work with. So I'm very supportive of this decision.
Yeah, and I just want to also add, I support this decision. I also support the DDA. For my time on Transportation Commission, I saw just how what incredible work the DDA does for the entire downtown that the library benefits from. But it's also the case that the downtown is going to benefit from this new library. And so I think all in all, this is a reasonable decision to make.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of this resolution, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed? This resolution passes. Now moving on to the Board Budget and Finance Committee appointment. To start us off, I'm going to nominate Cassie to be appointed to the Budget and Finance Committee. Do I have a motion to approve this nomination?
So moved.
Second.
Now discussion. I believe that Cassie would be a wonderful addition. I will say that in my own experience, day one, I was placed onto the Budget and Finance Committee. I think that it's a wonderful way to better understand the foundation of what the mechanics are of this library. Also, in getting to know Cassie the brief while that I have, I think that you bring an outside industry perspective of news and its media that might be a helpful perspective to tap into for all things budget and finance, and I think that you would be a wonderful addition.
It is a great crash course in how the library works.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add I'm the current treasurer of the board. I'm really looking forward to having a new face on the committee and to bring our newest board member into committee participation. So.
Incredible.
Cassie, did you know this was happening?
I did.
Okay, good.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, do I have a motion to add Cassie to the Budget and Finance Committee?
I think we
We
did that
moved
already. We're ready to vote.
Yes, yes. It actually does say that we will, doesn't matter. In our vote, do I have, all those signify by please saying yes?
Yes.
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 All those opposed? This passes. Welcome to Budget and Finance, Cassie.
Sweet, thank you.
Just in time for budget season.
Oh, yeah. Now we will move on to an update on the safety of patrons within the building with Eli.
Okay, so I just want to take a few minutes and update. There's been kind of renewed concerns about what sort of situations in which patrons are safe in the building from new concerns that people have, new risks in the community. So there's a couple different ways. We've had a conversation at our all-staff meeting, or at a PEDS department, which is the Public Experience and Desk Service meeting. We invited everyone to that meeting. It was just a couple weeks ago, and talked about, first of all, sort of like a risk assessment of with what's been going on in the community. What has actually happened in public buildings? What has actually happened at public libraries? What has actually happened in Washtenaw County? What has actually happened around the U.S.? To sort of have a very clear assessment of new risks that patrons might be facing when they're inside the building, and how staff can handle those situations. So one thing that's important to keep in mind when considering this is that the library already has a robust set of rules of behavior that keep people safe inside the library, that apply to everyone inside the library, and that there are you can't harass people when you're visiting inside the library, and that applies to anyone. So it is something that we already have a very strong policy framework for keeping people safe in the building that we use all the time. And so in many ways, while the concerns and the worries are new, the actual risks are not as new in terms of how do you keep people safe inside the building. We have a safety team that's very skilled at diffusing situations and working with unpredictable situations. But after examining sort of like what is the actual risk that we're facing in this moment, we talked about a couple different scenarios that could happen and what staff is empowered to do, what staff can do. And one thing that I just want to stress here for all of you is that one thing that is not part of being a library employee is putting your life on the line. That is just not part of working at the library we are very fortunate to be. And that is not an expectation of library employees, right? And hopefully we're never in that situation. In many ways, we've been facing new risks of violence is not something that we've talked about that many times over the past couple of years. A year ago, we had a very similar conversation about how you might handle armed people inside the library, right? It is a problem that here in Michigan, we are an open carry state, and libraries are not allowed to tell concealed weapon holders that they can't bring weapons into the library. So we are specifically exempted from that. So in many ways, these are not new risks that we're facing. It's just a new context for those risks. So we talked through a number of different scenarios that could actually happen, what staff can do in those situations, how they might be able to help members of the community. The most likely scenario is really when members of the community are scared that something is going to happen, regardless of whether or not something actually is happening inside the building. And we made sure that staff are aware of what their options are in those moments. We've updated some of the information available to staff to make sure that they're aware of all of the ways that they could help given the opportunity. And so it's mostly to say we've made sure that we are very aware of the actual risks, what's actually happening, the best practices in the sector, while also operating a public building. Much of the discussion locally has been about non-public areas, right? And most of our work is in the public areas. So there's a limited set of opportunities to improve safety there. But the good news is we already have a very strong baseline of safety in the building and in all of our buildings. And after having that conversation, had some good questions from staff. We continue to offer the opportunity. Staff needs to ask further questions or come up with something else, talk to their supervisor, and to be able to talk about things in a strategic and tactical way to be sure that we are giving staff the tools that they need to be able to handle a wide range of unforeseeable situations, right? So I feel that we are in as good of a position as we can be, and that staff know what the risks are and what they can do in different scenarios should the opportunity present itself. So nothing's really changed at the library. This is really risks that we have always faced, just in a new, like I said, just in a new context. So that's a conversation we can certainly continue as staff have questions about it, but I think that is mostly to say, there's only certain circumstances in which we can do anything, and to think about what those are and what we might do, and knowing how to handle those situations. So, any comments or questions for anyone?
I will add in clarity that regardless of any uncertainty or evil that is occurring in this country, the library has the aim to be a place of safety and security and knowledge for all of Ann Arbor and its residents and its patrons. And I'm grateful to staff and our administration for prioritizing the safety of all those that enter this building consistently today and tomorrow and yesterday as well. It's really important.
Yeah, thanks for the update, Eli. I really appreciate that AADL continues to demonstrate, diligence and proactivity when it comes to matters of public safety. You guys are great at this, whether it's, masonry that's falling off the building or climate and weather-related emergencies. I have every confidence that AADL is always thinking about these things before they need to, and that we're able to be more prepared in our response because of that. So thanks.
There's one other aspect of this I just wanted to touch on, which is that sometimes there's concerns about records access and requests for information that the library has in its systems. We already have a very strong defense about that, in that records cannot be accessed without a court order. That's by Michigan state law. So there's the information about patrons is very well protected. In addition, our approach of only storing those on systems that we're in full control of, all of which are located in our data center here in the building, make sure that there aren't some of the end arounds that are happening in other areas in the U.S. where platforms have been asked to provide information that the organization might not have offered. So in our case, any requests for any sort of information like that would have to come through us and would have to have full court order in order to be able to retrieve any information at all.
I appreciate you addressing this. I do a lot of organizing, and this has come up, unfortunately. And, I would just say to the immigrant community, you're seen and you are heard and you are loved. You belong here. You make the fabric of our community. Fascists are not welcome, but we can talk about it offline. But yeah, I think it's just, we are here for our immigrant community. We want to keep everyone safe. And, as this evolves, who knows? But I just think just to affirm that people are seen within this and that, the library is here for you. I know this board is also here for people too. So just wanted to put that out there.
And we also hope that members of vulnerable communities see themselves represented in the library's programming as well, and the library's collections and the library's materials. It's very important that we walk the walk. Any other comments?
Seeing no further discussion, we can move into public comments. Jodine, has there been any new public comments? No. Now, moving on to adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? Meeting adjourned.